What's up guys, welcome to my video on how I'm going to be playing Trailblazer Reloaded Leagues. Super excited for this. There's going to be lots and lots of different areas to choose from, infinite choices to make. Personally, I've just spent 4 days trying to figure out what I want to do and finally come to the first 2 regions, and I've decided that I'm going to wait and play it by ear, see what happens in other people's videos. Solo Mission's going to complete the game in a week anyway, so I'll see what he picks for his third and maybe go with something like that. Like I say, there's going to be lots of choices to make. The biggest choice we're going to have to make, however, as the last one, is the combat relic we pick, in my opinion. And I'll go from the bottom up because in my order that's the sort of order of how good they are. Worst, but don't take that as any of these are bad. They're all ridiculously good and you can't really go wrong with many picks. But Archer's Embrace, ranged weapon, and remember these next 2 statements because they're going to be applicable for everything. Ranged weapons with an attack speed of 4 or more, stat is halved and rounded down, 3 or more is halved and rounded up, basically meaning almost everything's going to be 2 ticks. So in mind, you're going to get the most out of what would usually be a 5-tick weapon because it's going to be a 2-tick. 4-tick obviously by design is going to do less damage, and it's going to be the same speed as what a 5-tick weapon is going to end up being, which is insane. 90% of ammunition saved, and that can stack with the other device, stacking up to 98%. Don't worry about the crystal blah, 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 blah. You save charges. Enchanted bolts have a double chance to proc. Think about this for a second. A rune crossbow is going to be 2 ticks, like a blowpipe. It's going to be blowpipe speed, and you're going to be firing ruby bolts that do 100 damage to the right bosses, twice as often as usual at 2 ticks. Onyx bolts heal you. You might never be able to die. So like I said, none of these are bad. And you're probably thinking, how could this be the worst? But just wait and see. 10% chance to fire an extra projectile, so you could literally, every 2 ticks, not going to happen, but every 2 ticks, you could be firing 2 ruby bolts that proc, and you're doing 220 damage. Ridiculous. And range accuracy is increased by a tiny little 100%, literally doubled. Incredible. Brawlers resolves the melee relic. Melee weapons with 4 or more, halved rounded down, 3 or more, halved rounded up. Everything's a 2-tick basically, except for god swords, etc. that are a 6-tick weapon. They're going to be 3-tick. Still ridiculous. Not going to be meta though, I don't think. 90% of charges are saved with melee weapons like the scythe. Immune to all status effects, including poison, venom, fire breath, with the exceptions of stuns and roots. I don't know what they are. This applies in both PvE and PvP, so you can use that in the wilderness if you pick the wilderness as well. 10% chance to deal a critical strike, which is double damage, which is awesome. Arguably better than the range because it's not double damage, it's a second projectile. If you hit hard with the melee, it's double. If you come in and hit 100 with Darok, which you're going to be doing every 2 ticks or 3 ticks, check that, you're going to hit 200. That's just ridiculous. And that's not going to be uncommon because your accuracy is boosted as well by 50%. You also take 50% less damage, so it really is quite obvious to me that you should pick Mauritania, not just because full Darok, but imagine full Darok hitting hundreds every 2 or 3 ticks semi-regularly and not taking as much damage, if any damage, if you can pray against the bosses. Just crazy. There's not much more to go into to that, very self-explanatory. My favourite, and I'm going Superior Sorceress, the Mage Relic. I've not gone down the Mage route in any of the leagues, I don't think, and I couldn't have timed it better because this one is ridiculous. Same tick thing, so notably starting staffs are going to be 2-tick, and finishing staff, the Shadow, for me, is going to be 2-tick. We'll go more into the Shadow in a minute because it gets ridiculous. You save 90% of your runes when you're casting spells or using powered staves like the Trident. Binding spells hit every time, so any boss you can freeze, you will freeze every single time. So God Wars is now AFK. Acquired the Arcane Grimoire, which allows you to change any spellbook you've got unlocked. You also acquire a rune pouch, and the rune pouch stores 2 more runes, 2 more types of runes. So a standard rune pouch is going to store 5 runes. 5 runes by default. If you then get your thread from TOA, you get 6 runes in your rune pouch. That's crazy. Magic attacks will deal an additional 25% splash damage to surrounding targets, up to 5 more targets, so 6 in total. This splash damage only affects monsters in multi-combat areas. Magic accuracy is increased by 175%, and magic damage is also increased by 20%. Let me paint you a picture. You've gone Kandrin, Desert, and anything else. You can grind away at the Leviathan. This is my plan if you couldn't tell. You can grind away at Leviathan, get yourself full Virtus, which gives you like a 6 or 8% boost to Ancient Magics. Get 99 Mage in about 4.5 seconds. Get a lucky Shadow, which you might not even have to be that lucky for. I think it's going to be end up being like a 20 hour or 25 hour grind if you go on drop rate. Shadows triple your worn gear's accuracy, and if you've gone Kandrin, you've got a occult necklace for 10%, a Zenite bracelet, the tormented bracelet for another 5%, that's 15%, triple that's 45%, add the bonus of your worn armor, let's round it down to 50%, you're doing 70% more damage at 175% accuracy, and if you're in TOA that's quadrupled. Just ridiculous. For me it's an easy pick because I want to do TOA. I've never had a Shadow. I'd love to, the first time I get to play with a Shadow, be on 1,000,000% damage and accuracy, just melt the world and not have to use any charges. Oh, it's going to be insane. I can't wait. Absolutely ridiculous. Now onto areas. Someone posted this on the OSRS Twitter page, and whoever made this graphic is an absolute legend, and it's awesome. It simplifies it but not too much. It shows you all the regions, as you can see, where they are, because I didn't know that some of these counted. So Kandrin, you've got that little bit of ground down there, which is awesome. Which is, what is that? Oh, that's Apotol. Lol. So you've got Apotol included. But let's start at the bottom then. You've got your awesome little logo, and you've got Karamja and Mistalin to start with by default. These aren't even bad. You've got your Fire Cape and all your melee armor from there, so you can start with a melee build and you're immediately off on the right track. Not bad at all. Mistalin's got loads of content for skilling. You've got Pura and Fairy Rings, Herbivore, Volcanic Mine, Birdhouses. Birdhouse is awesome. You're never going to have to train Hunter if you don't want to. Isle of Souls and Soul Wars for imbuing stuff, so you don't have to unlock Kandrin for the Nightmare Zone if you don't want to, which is good for melee and range builds because you might not want Kandrin because it's not that good for you. Mistalin bosses, you've also got the Deranged Archaeologist, which drops some decent early game stuff. Briarfighter and Obor are there as well, and Abyssal Sire for the decent Slayer. It's not bad. Nobody loves Sire, nobody really hates Sire. A lot of people hate Sire. I'll go anti-clockwise. Taranwin, I think it's going to be overlooked quite a little bit. You've got the Death Altar, not going to be needed. Everything drops Death Runes. Agility, yeah, you've got agility everywhere. Slayer Dungeon, that would be decent, but there's other dungeons in most areas, better areas. Pickpocketing Elf would only be useful for making things out the gauntlet, the weapons and the armour, and that's not going to be best in slot, so I'll brush straight over that one. We don't need it. Karend is a good choice for anybody, and if you like Chambers, it's a default choice. If you're not going mage build, it's also a very good choice because it drops some good melee stuff and some really good range stuff. If you go in range, you got to pick Karend, because imagine having a T-bow on 2-tick. Bosses as well, good amount of bosses. Wintertod for early game, you can pick it first, which is awesome. Hydra for late game Slayer, for the Lance, which probably not going to be great anywhere, but not bad anywhere. Sarachnis for the Cudgel, which is not going to be a bad one-handed 2-tick weapon. Ispori, Mimics, and Vardorvis. But look at that, it says with Desert. So, as the same above with Fremenic, Dukes of Celis with Desert. Any of the DT2 bosses, you're going to need to unlock the Desert. So another reason why I'm going Mage is I want to try those bosses, and I'd need to go to Desert to do any of them. One of them's in the Desert as well, which is great. So it was a decent, easy pick for me. Fremenic's a good third choice for me as well, because I'm going Desert. I'd get Duke. Duke also drops the Magus Ring, which I've never had. I'd love to get that. Phantom Musper I've never really done. I've done like 2 kills, it was boring, but if I'm melting it 3-second kills, then not going to be bad at all. Vorkath for some stuff. DKs, not going to be bad. You obviously need the ring. Easy kills, nice quick pet. You can probably mage them all on the mage build. Range them all on the range build. Won't be bad at all. Slayer Caves, alright. Astralter Lunar Spellbook. Lunar Spellbook's a good one for any skilling. I don't know if it'll end up being meta with all the relics, but it's there. Blast Furnace, 99 smithing in about 4.5 minutes. Rune Dragons and Addy Dragons could have some niche uses. Basilisk Knights and the Face Guard. So again, not a bad shout for the melee build. Kandarin, my first choice I've settled on. Mostly because I think it's going to be really, really good for easy points. And with it being my first choice and my first pick and first unlock, I might get out of that area pretty quick anyway. So the lack of bosses isn't going to bother me too much. Because I can fly through this, do all the tasks, get all the jewellery and stuff that I need while I'm there. Get a couple 99s from skilling, and I'm probably going to get my next unlock pretty fast, which will be Desert, but we'll move on to that shortly. Asgarnia is going to be default for anyone going melee build, and a tempting pick for anybody. You've got all the God Wars bosses, Giant Mole, Cerberus for all the boots, Nex, relatively new, might be interesting to try next, and again, Whisperer, but with the Desert. Whisperer would be awesome for me with the mage build. It'd be so fast, and I quite like killing the Whisperer. Pest Control's a big one. Mining with the Motherlode Mine, Unreal. Rogue's Den for double pickpockets. Warriors Guild for defenders. Taberley Dungeon and Mahogany Homes as well. So Asgarnia is really hard to overlook. It might end up being my third pick. And if it is, it's probably because it's going to be pretty chill killing all those God Wars bosses with insta freezes and 250 damage a second. Wilderness is a good one. Dave's tempted by this one. I'm not so excited. Mage Arena 1 and 2, yeah, cool. That'd be the only reason I went, alongside the Wilderness staff weapon thing. Loads of bosses. The bosses are quite enjoyable, so that'd also be pretty cool, but Wilderness is self-explanatory. It's almost a league on its own, I think. I think you could have a Wilderness league. I think that'd be flipping awesome. Mauritania is a good pick and a default pick for melee, because you've got the Scythe, which is going to be the best in slot, and very hard to turn down. You've also got some decent training methods, not loads, and a good amount of bosses. You could definitely pick it first for the Barrow's armor and the Barrow's weapons, and like I say, if you picked it first, by the time you'd finished getting full Darok with a Darok's axe, which is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to see people do videos on that. Definitely people will be doing videos on that. It's going to be insane. You're probably going to have decent combat stats anyway, so you'll be able to wear it as well. Grotesque Guardians, Bit Slayer, Nightmare and TOB are going to be the big ones, because they're both coming up with hard modes as well, and hard mode TOB is going to have a harder mode, which is going to be a chest every time, and unless they allow you to get more than one purple, a little bit overkill as well, because it was going to be a chest every other time, and then they're going to triple the drop rate, so a chest every time, 2 every second. We'll see, don't know what they're going to do with that. And finally, but by far, I think in a way the best pick, and a default pick if you go in mage, Desert, because second to none is going to be the Shadow. But aside from that, even if you picked it first, you've got the Mage Training Arena for the Mage Armor, Boots, Mage Wand, Unreal, Agility Pyramid for unlimited cash instantly, Blackjacking, Giant's Foundry, Smithing's going to be rapid there, Sorcerer's Garden, anybody? Comment down below what on earth that is. Pyramid Plunder, awesome, Thieving, Money, the Staff for teleports is going to be great if you go in there as well. You obviously get the Ancient Spellbook, which is going to dominate this league, and I'm keep an eye out for that. It really will. It's going to be insane. Desert bosses being Temporos, very good for early game. Really is a good pick for first choice. This Calfat Queen for a D pick, a decent pet. Leviathan will be fun because you're not going to go here with melee. Don't go here with melee. You could go here with melee for the Fang, but it's definitely going to be the best pick for Mage, but everything else is up for debate. Mage is almost a bit disappointing like that. Not really disappointing, but if you go in Mage, you definitely have to pick Kandarin and Desert, so you only really get to pick one, but I enjoy the content in Kandarin and Desert anyway. And I do recommend, if someone's completely lost for ideas and they're just like, someone tell me what to pick Mage, go Kandarin and Desert, or Desert then Kandarin, and then maybe go for whatever raid you want to do outside of TOA, or go for wherever the bossing is that you enjoy doing. It's not going to be too difficult. That pretty much sums it up, guys. I hope that video wasn't too sort of last minute, but it was very last minute. I wasn't really keen on the idea of having my face out on YouTube, but I think I could live with it. Let me know down below if it's something you want to see more of. I was recently watching a guide of someone that was doing deep dives on all of the areas, and it felt more personal. I'll link his channel down below. He's really good. He goes into so much detail on all of these, which, if that's for you, definitely go and look at his videos. He's awesome. But comment down below if you want to see this a bit more. Comment down below if you don't want to see me. If you're going to enjoy some Leagues content, it's going to be pretty much all I'm doing for the next 8 weeks, because I'm going to binge this. When I'm not at work, I'm going to be gaming, I'm going to be recording, I'm going to be making videos. So please subscribe if you want to see this. It's going to be non-stop. I'm going to try and bring out at least a video a week, maybe 2, depends. Early on it's going to be a couple a week, I think, because there's going to be lots of content to cover. So subscribe if you want to see all of that, and I will see you next time.